MASH wasn't just a sitcom, it felt like family. Week after week, it mixed sharp jokes with real emotion. The show crushed ratings and changed TV. Alan Alda was the heart of it. He wrote, he directed, he led on screen and off. But the goodbye hit hard. His final episode was heavy. The smiles shook, the tears felt real, and behind the camera the cast struggled too. There were secrets on set, tough choices in the writer's room, even a storyline that fans still call controversial today. It all built to an ending that still hurts to watch. Join us as we look back at MASH from its early days to Alan Alda's emotional farewell, exploring the show's huge success, the cast's real goodbyes, and the behind-the-scenes moments fans never knew. How MASH became TV's game-changer. MASH is an American war comedy drama that ran on CBS from 1972 to 1983. It started as a TV spin-off of the 1970 movie, which came from a 1968 book called MASH, a novel about 3 Army doctors. The series was developed by Larry Gelbart and produced by 20th Century Fox Television. The story takes place at the 4077th Mobile Army Surgical Hospital in Uijeongbu, South Korea, during the Korean War. Each week, viewers watch doctors and support staff work under pressure, save lives, and try to stay human. The opening titles used an instrumental version of "Suicide is Painless," the theme from the film. Even the name had style. The asterisks were not military, they were a creative choice that first appeared in the novel and on the movie's posters. MASH aired in prime time while the Vietnam War was still going, so the show had to be careful. It used humor and heart to talk about war without turning into a protest. That mix made it feel bold. Episodes ran about half an hour and often switched tone. One week could be light and silly. The next week could be sharp and sad. Some stories were told as letters home, which pulled viewers close to the characters. A BBC reviewer in 1980 said the show's humor came from watching doctors, totem figures, act just as venal and silly as the rest of us. That line fits the spirit of the series. MASH showed people we admire, but it showed them as people first. The result was an honest voice on TV. It was also the best-known part of the whole MASH world and one of the highest-rated shows in US TV history. The balance of jokes and truth gave it power. The changing tones gave it life. And the simple setup, good people doing hard work in a hard place, kept viewers coming back for more and set the stage for a cast that felt like family. The people who made MASH feel real. From the start, MASH was an ensemble. Alan Alda played Surgeon Benjamin Hawkeye Pierce. Wayne Rogers played Trapper John McIntyre. They were the main surgeons at the center, quick with a wisecrack and steady in a crisis. Larry Linville played Frank Burns, a stiff and fussy surgeon who clashed with others. Loretta Swit played Major Margaret Hot Lips Houlihan, the strong and skilled head nurse. McLean Stevenson played Lieutenant Colonel Henry Blake, the warm commander who held the unit together. Gary Berghoff played Radar O'Reilly, the young clerk who always seemed to know what was needed before anyone asked. Jamie Farr played Maxwell Klinger, the orderly with a flair for dramatic outfits. William Christopher played Father John Mulcahy, the gentle chaplain. Over time, the cast changed. Mike Farrell replaced Wayne Rogers as B.J. Honeycutt, Hawkeye's new partner in the operating room and in humor. Harry Morgan replaced McLean Stevenson as Colonel Sherman Potter, bringing a firm but fair presence to the camp. David Ogden Stiers replaced Larry Linville as Charles Emerson Winchester III, a proud and precise surgeon with a sharp tongue. When Gary Berghoff left, Klinger moved into the clerk role. These moves could have broken the flow. Instead, they kept the show fresh. Longtime supporting faces Kelly Nakahara, Jeff Maxwell, Johnny Hamer, Alan Arbus, Edward Winter, and G.W. Bailey gave the camp a lived-in feel. Writers even pulled some character names from the 1978 Los Angeles Dodgers because they needed so many names. Stories came from many places. Some came from Alan Alda. Some came from surgeons who had served in Korea. That is why the work in the operating room felt tense and real, and why the jokes felt like a release. It was a team effort on screen and off. And as the people changed and grew, the show never lost its focus. Care for the patient, care for each other, and try to stay sane. The unit felt like a small town inside a war, with rules, rivalries, and friendships. Viewers learned who would crack a joke, who would bend a rule, and who would stand up when it counted. And that rhythm made the next layer of the show hit even harder. Style, voice, and the lines it dared to cross. MASH is often called a sitcom, but it also fits as dark comedy and dramedy. That is because the subject, war and surgery, is not light. The show used jokes to cut the tension and truth to hold the weight. Some episodes were plot-heavy. Others focused on character and small moments. The tone could change inside a single scene. A laugh could land right before a hard truth. This gave the show a strong voice. It was brave enough to question things. It joked about the system. It showed the cost of duty. It also drew a sharp line between the drafted doctors, like Hawkeye, Trapper, and later BJ, and the regular army officers, like Major Houlihan and Colonel Potter. That friction drove many stories. It was the classic push and pull. Follow the rules, or do what feels right for the patient in front of you. The show was also careful about language and images on screen, since it aired while Vietnam was still in the news. It made its point under the cover of comedy. The title sequence reminded viewers where they were headed each week. The theme played, the helicopters came in, the tents and stretchers filled the frame, and then the writing did the rest. The staff changed, but the camp kept moving. Even the opening fact that the asterisks in the title were a creative choice signals how MASH mixed style with meaning. It built a world that felt real, even when the scene was a prank or a wisecrack. Reviewers noticed, fans noticed, and the ratings proved it. MASH became one of the greatest shows of all time because it held two truths at once. People are funny and people hurt. It let the cast be silly, and it let them be serious. It let letters home carry a whole story. It let day-to-day life in a field hospital speak for itself. That brave mix is why viewers still remember the doctors of the 4077th and the choices they made. Speaking of which, MASH is one of the most loved TV shows ever made. But believe it or not, it almost got canceled after just one season. And Alan Alda himself once pointed to a specific episode to explain why. The odd episode that didn't fit. It wasn't dramatic, it wasn't emotional, it was just off. That episode was Season 1's Major Fred C. Dobbs. On paper, it sounds like a regular early MASH plot. Frank Burns gets fed up with Hawkeye and Trapper and demands a transfer out of the 4077 Th. His partner Margaret wants to leave too. Then Hawkeye and Trapper panic. Not because they'll miss them, but because if Frank and Margaret leave, they'll have more work to do in the operating room. So, what do? They trick Frank into staying with a silly plan about gold buried around camp. But here's the problem. The idea just doesn't make sense. Hawkeye and Trapper hated Frank. Normally, they would throw a party if he left. They would not work hard to keep him around. That made the whole episode feel strange and out of character. Even fans who love early MASH often skip it. Alan Alda later called it a low point, remembering there are a few all of us wish we didn't have to do, because the idea didn't work. The one about a gold Jeep was a low point, so when Hawkeye and Trapper drove past Frank in a Jeep painted gold, most viewers just shook their heads. It was supposed to be funny. Instead, it felt wrong. And that's where the warning signs started, because moments like this almost brought the show to an end. When MASH almost disappeared. It's hard to imagine now, but MASH struggled badly in its first season. That same Major Fred C. Dobbs episode came near the end of a mixed first year. Season 1 was not the MASH fans later loved. It was more wacky sitcom than emotional dramedy. Lots of pranks, lots of pies-in-the-face energy, but not much of the heart and depth that made the show special later. There were still great moments, like the powerful "sometimes you hear the bullet, but not enough viewers saw them." Ratings were bad. So bad that after the Season 1 wrap party, the cast didn't even know if they'd be back. According to the MASH 30th anniversary reunion, they genuinely thought the show might be over. That would have ended one of TV's greatest journeys before it even started. Alan Alda later said that reruns saved MASH. People who didn't watch the first time gave it another try in reruns and fell in love. Suddenly, the numbers shot up. CBS took another look and renewed it. And rumor says one more thing helped. The wife of the CBS boss loved the show. When someone important's spouse says, "This is good," keep it, you listen. If not for those reruns, and maybe that one powerful opinion, the world might never have seen the show grow, evolve, and become iconic. But to grow, MASH had to change. It had to leave wacky behind and embrace heart. And that growth wouldn't have happened without Alan Alda stepping in and stepping up. The low point Alan Alda couldn't stand. The funny thing about Major Fred C. Dobbs is that even the cast hated it, and they weren't shy about saying so. The idea didn't come from them. It came from the network. MASH creators were pressured to make episodes more like other sitcoms at the time. The network wanted simple, silly comedy, but MASH wasn't meant to be just slapstick. It had something deeper to say. That's why the Gold Hunt storyline felt so wrong. It wasn't honest to the characters. It wasn't honest to the tone the show would later become known for. Plus, the actors had logic questions even while filming. Where would Hawkeye and Trapper even get gold paint in a war zone? No one knew. It didn't matter. The scene had to happen. The cast did their jobs, but not happily. Later, Alan Alda called it the show's low point, and fans agreed. It is often mentioned as the weakest episode in the entire 11-season run. But sometimes, hitting a low point makes you realize what you don't want to be. Soon after, the show leaned into real emotion, real loss, real humor tied to real pain. And MASH transformed into a show that could make you laugh 1 second and break your heart the next. But not everyone loved that direction. When the movie director said, "I don't like any of them," one person who did not become a fan of the show was Robert Altman, the director of the original MASH movie. And he didn't hold back. On the film's DVD commentary, he said the TV series was the antithesis of what we were trying to do. He even missaid Alan Alda's name, calling him Alan Albert, or whatever his name is. Ouch. Altman believed the show lost the original political message of his film. He even called the series quite a racist thing. Later, in Robert Altman, the oral biography, he made it clear he still disliked it, and the people in it. His exact words, "I don't like it, and I don't like any of those people." He admitted jealousy played a role, saying, "How dare they walk into my studio and look at my easel?" He refused to make a sequel to his own MASH movie, even when offered big money. Funny thing is, though, one person did bridge the movie and the show. Gary Berghoff played Radar in both. At first, he played Radar darker and more mysterious in the movie. But when the TV version became warmer and more heartfelt, he changed Radar too. Berghoff explained it himself. He said in the movie, Radar was shadowy and sardonic. In the show, he made Radar more innocent, so audiences would feel the war through his pure eyes. He reacted like someone who didn't understand war, not like someone judging it. That innocence made Radar one of the most loved characters in TV history. And it proves something simple. People can see the same world differently, but still create something meaningful. You see, Alan Alda will always be remembered as Hawkeye Pierce from MASH, the sharp doctor with a warm heart and a quick joke. But behind the famous character was a man who cared deeply about truth, kindness, and doing good work, a role bigger than fame. Alda once sat down with the Television Academy Foundation and shared memories that showed who he really was. Funny, honest, and always trying to do his best. He didn't just want to be a TV star, he wanted to do meaningful work. He also didn't want MASH